Imagine a cave, not a shallow hollow, but a chamber deep underground, its mouth far above and behind you, out of sight. Along one wall sit prisoners, and you are one of them. You have been here since childhood. Chains hold your legs and your neck so that you cannot turn your head. You have never seen the person beside you. You have never seen your own body. All your life you have faced one thing, a blank stone wall. Behind you and above, a fire burns. Between the fire and your back runs a low walkway, screened by a wall. Like the little stage a puppeteer crouches behind. Along it people pass, carrying things, carved figures of animals and men, vessels, tools, held up above the screen. The fire throws their shadows onto the wall in front of you. Those shadows move. They cross. Sometimes a carrier speaks. The sound echoes off the stone, and the voice seems to come from the shadow itself. This is your entire world. Not a picture of the world. You have names for the shapes. You can tell which shadow tends to follow which. The prisoner who predicts them best is admired. He is the clever one, the one who understands how things are. And he understands nothing. He is an expert in shadows. Hold that picture, because a man described it 24 centuries ago, and we have not stopped arguing about it since. The man is Plato. The place is his Republic, a long dialogue about justice, written around 380 BC. The speaker is his teacher Socrates, laying the scene out patiently for a young listener named Glaucon. It is the last of 3 linked images, and by far the most unforgettable. We call it the Allegory of the Cave, and its first move is quiet and devastating. What if everything you have ever called real is only a shadow on a wall? So Socrates frees one prisoner, not gently. Picture the chains struck off, and the man forced to stand, on legs that have never held him, turning a neck that has never turned. He looks back, and for the first time sees the fire. It hurts. The light stabs, his eyes stream. The sharp-edged flames are harder to look at than the soft shadows he knew. Told that those shadows were the less real thing, he would not believe it. He would want to turn back to the wall where seeing was easy. But he is dragged up the rough, steep path, out of the cave into open daylight. And the sun is agony. At first he can see nothing at all. Then slowly his eyes adjust, and they adjust in an order. First he can bear to look at shadows again, shadows in the real world, then reflections of things in water, then the things themselves, then the night sky, the moon and the stars, gentler than the day, and last of all he can look at the sun, not its reflection, but the sun itself, and grasp that it governs everything he sees, that it turns the seasons and the years, and is in some way the cause of it all. For Plato, this climb is the mind's climb. Outside the cave stand what he calls the forms, the true, unchanging realities that the physical world only imitates. And the sun is the highest of them, the form of the good, the source not only of things, but of our very power to know them. As the sun makes seeing possible, the good makes understanding possible, and notice what education turns out to be. It is not pouring facts into an empty mind. The prisoner's eyes worked the whole time. What he lacked was not sight, but direction. He was facing the wrong way. Plato even has a word for the fix, periagogy, the turning around of the whole soul, away from the shadows and toward the light. A real teacher does not fill you. A real teacher turns you. Here most retellings stop, with the escape, the sunlight, the happy ending. Plato does not stop here. He asks a harder question. What does the freed man do now? And his answer is the strangest part of the whole story. He goes back down. Socrates is firm about it. The one who has seen the sun is sent back into the dark to the prisoners he left behind, and it goes badly. Coming in from the light, his eyes no longer read the shadows. In the gloom he stumbles, he guesses wrong, he looks ridiculous. The prisoners, still expert in shadows, conclude that the journey up the path has ruined him, that leaving is a mistake, better not attempted. And Socrates adds a cold line. If they could lay hands on the man who keeps trying to loose their chains and lead them out, they would kill him. It is almost impossible not to hear in that sentence another death. Plato wrote this perhaps 20 years after the city of Athens put his teacher Socrates on trial for corrupting the young and executed him. Readers have seen the returning prisoner as Socrates for as long as they have read The Cave. Plato does not say so outright. He did not have to. And it leaves a genuinely hard problem one philosophers still turn over. Why go back at all? If life in the sunlight is better, and Plato says it is, then the descent is a sacrifice. The one who escaped would rather stay and contemplate. He has to be compelled to return and govern. The person best fit to lead is exactly the person who least wants the job. That tension does not tidy itself away, and it may be the most honest thing in the story. So what is The Cave actually about? It is tempting to pick one answer, and the text resists it. Socrates introduces the whole image as being about education, and the lack of it. But the climb is also a map of knowledge itself, and the return is unmistakably political. How the few who have seen owe something to the many who have not. Plato seems to have meant all of it at once. Underneath sits his theory of forms, the claim that behind every changing physical thing lies a perfect, unchanging original. It is one of the most influential ideas in Western thought, and it is worth being honest about its status. Whether it began with Plato or with the real Socrates is disputed. Aristotle, who studied under Plato, credited Socrates with hunting for definitions, but said it was Plato who set the forms apart in a world of their own. And that clean ladder of knowing, shadows, then objects, then mathematics, then the forms, the one that textbooks line up so neatly against the stages of The Cave. The fit is looser than the diagrams pretend, and specialists still argue over where each rung really lands. When someone tells you The Cave maps perfectly onto anything, be a little suspicious. That, after all, is the whole point. One more piece of fine print because you are probably already thinking it. This is not quite the Matrix. The shadows are not a fake world with nothing behind them. They are real shadows of real objects thrown by a real fire, a dim and degraded image of something true. Plato's claim is not that reality is an illusion. It is that most of us mistake the faintest version of reality for the whole of it, and that there is a harder, brighter order above for anyone willing to climb. Which brings us to the trap laid inside the tale, the part that has kept it alive for 24 centuries. Read the Allegory, and you will do what everyone does. You will side with the freed prisoner. Of course you would climb. Of course you want the truth. But look again at how the story is built. The prisoners do not know they are prisoners. The shadows do not look like shadows. They look like the world. Certainty feels exactly the same on the wall as it does in the sun. Nobody in that cave believes they are in a cave. So the useful question is not whether other people are fooled. That one is easy and a little smug. The useful question is the one Plato aimed straight at his reader. What are my shadows? What have I taken for the whole of reality only because it is all I have ever been shown? And would I truly want to be turned around if the light hurt, if it cost me the company on the wall, if it made me, for a while, a fool? Plato's wager was that the turn is always possible, that the soul can be reoriented at any moment toward what is real, not filled, turned, and it begins the instant you suspect the wall. 24 centuries on, we are all still down here, naming the shadows, admiring whoever names them best. The way out has not moved. The only question the allegory ever really asked is whether you will walk toward it.